Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Good evening, malcontents. How are you? I am the malcontent, turning the volume down as I reach over there. Happy Monday to you. Today is July 19th, 2021, and welcome to another episode of Old School Malcontentment Happy Hour. I hope everybody is well. Shelley and Joseph, thank you for joining. And Amarian, thank you. See you there in the comments as we have the audience building. I know the feed was it ran for a long time before I got the internal ping that the show was on the air. Ursinate, hello. Thank you for joining in the comments. Much appreciated to all of our malcontents. Stephanie, hello. Mods and admins are in the house. Behave, everybody. How the heck is everybody doing? Never did before. Oh, on time before. Oh, my good. So, Rex, a fun story about the light rail animation there. That actually is old school, original. That graphic might be 4 years old. And I used to open up the show before COVID, before social justice, when we were like a weather blog and kind of local issues. And let's poke fun at Trump because he's real easy to poke fun at. I would always open up the show mocking ST3 here in the Seattle area. I'm a fan of light rail. I'm a huge fan of light rail. Grew up in the East Coast. Not a fan of ST3. I don't think I'll ever be a fan of ST3. Anyway, the whole joke that we used to open with is like, yes, that is the ST5 project with the tunnel to Kirkland that will be completed in 2096 at the cost of... And the number would constantly get bigger and bigger, and I think it was up to about $96 billion for the train tunnel. But Rex, that's the story behind that train tunnel. Like the rest of you all cared about that. Joseph's in the house. Rebecca's in the house. Kellen's in the house. You Green, look at this. The gang's all here. The gang's all here. This is great. Let me go ahead and start with a couple of, I don't want to say housekeeping items per se. They're quasi-housekeeping items, and we'll go ahead and move into the random stream of consciousness, which is the old school shows. So I have kind of three housekeeping items. Number one housekeeping item, we had this up on our Facebook page on Sunday. I want to go ahead and address it here on the show. I know people have been asking about Jennifer. There's people that were expressing concerns in her circle to us. Let me just say this. Jennifer's a very private person. I for one figure that out very quickly and, respect those privacy boundaries. I'm asking malcontents to please respect those boundaries. I will only say she has a lot going on, both internal and external in her life, and it is all kind of hit at the same time. And this actually was going on before we even moved into Studio 3 together. And the board, and she was a member of the board, and we meet weekly. And we were like, hey, we've always been, when somebody's like, hey, I'm having a rough time or I got something, if you got to pull back, because nobody getting paid here. And Jennifer was motoring through, and a couple of other things kind of blew up, and that's that. So Jennifer's in a long-term hiatus, and we wish her well, and we'll see what happens in the future. So you can extend your good thoughts and all. I'm really asking on her behalf. Did message with her, so I have the 411. I have the deets. Please, if you're on the fringe of the circle, respect her circle. That's really the takeaway from all of that. That's housekeeping item number one. Housekeeping item number two is, yes, on the subject of being paid in hearts, spam those hearts. Go ahead and spam those hearts on Facebook and Twitter, formerly Periscope. If you are watching us on Twitch, you can use our Twitch emotes. If you're a subscriber on Twitch, you can go ahead and use those emotes. If you're on YouTube, we love you, YouTube, but YouTube doesn't allow you to do anything cool. So you can just say, love you mods, love you admins, love you David, miss you Jennifer, love you researchers, just not in a creepy way, unless you're Courtney. Courtney has a hall pass to do it in a creepy way for the entire team. Second piece of housekeeping here is, as people know, that I would think that people know because I allude to this, right? There is the Malcontent news side of my house, and there's the marketing agency side of my house. We have signed a significant contract with a really big company, and I'm not going to say who because that's my business. And that is going to go into effect in about 2 weeks. So what exactly does that mean? We're not going away. But it does probably mean that the production of content, et cetera, is probably going to go down, but we are not going away. As part of that, one of the things that I'll put out there, and I put this out here every now and then, we're always looking for writers. We need writers. We're always looking for people who want to bring us stories. We're looking for stories. And I will say the stories that seem to resonate the most with our audience is social justice stories. And we're going to be unpacking one of the social stories there. Spacey Gracie, loving the Yoda emotes. Yoda had left us February 28th, forever in our heart. Yes, Rex, VIP. And forever in our hearts. And we do miss him very, very much. So I'm just kind of setting this expectation of, things will be pulling back a bit. The other thing that may happen from this is Happy Carta. Yes. When I'm in here, there are far less mute issues in here because there's a lot less going on when I'm on this particular system in Studio One. Happy hour might move to like a half an hour later. And I know for people that are not on Pacific time, that's probably a big groan. But there's got to be some time to pull that together. I have to support the clients because they have these addictions: food, clothing, shelter. And I have to continue to do and support those particular things. With that, why don't we go ahead and get into our news and some of our stories here. First thing I want to start off with is the Seattle mayoral, that's a tough word, but let's start that again. Seattle mayoral race, much better. A poll came out over the weekend, and the three front runners that we have in the race is Bruce Harrell, and it's like he has 20% in the poll. Number 2 is Lorena Gonzalez at 12%. Number 3 is Colleen Echohawk at 10%. And then everyone else is in the single digits. And there are a number of candidates who didn't even registered 0%. Casey Six Killer, who came in late to the race, that's one I remember off the top of my head, 4%. Andrew Grant Houston, I was surprised that he was this low. Andrew Grant Houston was sitting at 6%. I sincerely thought he would have more support than that. Strictly my opinion. So I told facts. Now I'm going to sprinkle in some of my opinion on this. So, it's a best of two primary race in the state of Washington. And so based on that data, it looks like Bruce Harrell is going to coast into this. And then it really comes down to Colleen Echo Hawk and Lorena Gonzalez, because 2 points of margin, that's within the margin of error of the poll. So you've got some wiggle there. They're kind of tied if you squint a little bit. 32% undecided. 32%. I think part of that 32% is because there is so much choice. I think there is they have 15 candidates to pick from. Of those 15 candidates, you can build an argument that 6 or 7 have a viable chance going into the primary. Put the poll away for a minute, because if we look at the poll, we can kind of go, well, there's only 3 that have a legitimate chance of progressing. What we don't know with 32% undecided is where will those undecided fall? Are those undecided falls going to fall with existing candidates with existing track records like Bruce or Lorena? Or are they going to flood into, I'm going to take a chance with Andrew Grant Houston or Colleen Echo Hawk. One of the things in the poll that was part of the analysis is, Colleen Echo Hawk is, as far as that, hasn't run for any significant office in their lifetime, hasn't held office. And one of the things they noted is that she is polling extremely well for a newcomer into politics, running in a very volatile race. Ursynate, the tyranny of choice. I love how smart our audience is. I absolutely love it. And I'm also seeing some of your favorite movies popping in there. So I know people are reading the ticker. I'm seeing I'm seeing people's comments on this. If we go back to the interviews we did, and I did the interview with Bruce, I think Bruce interviewed extremely well. I think a lot of his answers, I think, were aligned, at least in my values. There was not a single candidate when we went through our questions and did the interviews of the front runners. There wasn't a single candidate that everything they answered, I was like, I'm on board with everything you're saying. If I was living in Seattle, you were my man, my woman, my they. There was nobody that checked all the boxes. And I think tyranny of choice, I'm going to steal that, tyranny of choice, where you have 15 candidates. One of the things, particularly in a city that has more liberal-oriented politics, and I said many times, not as liberal as people think, but just as people on the right have kind of their purity tests, people on the left, I really believe, in my experience, are even stronger in their purity tests. And so what I suspect part of what's going on with 32% undecided is the same thing that I observed. This person, they check 7 out of 10 of my boxes. And that's not good enough, because I want someone that's going to check 10 out of 10. And I don't think there's anybody in this group that checks 10 out of 10. I'm not going to mention candidates that I was just like, oh no, I'm not, because I'm really first of all, again, I don't live in the city, so I don't feel it's my place to share my opinion to the residents of Seattle. This is who I think you should vote for. But even among some of the candidates, where I was like, oh man, that answer, oh my goodness, even among them, they at least had a couple of things where I was like, wow, really good answer. I like that. And for when they were like, really good answer, I really like that. It was like, wow, I actually wish there was a couple of them where I was like, wow, I wish people would adopt this chunk of your platform and go ahead and pull it in. Rex, I think that's a lot of concern that people have with candidates like Bruce, Lorena, Jesselyn. I know this was expressed strongly in the comments with her that this will be more of the same. And I think Casey Sixkiller has that rock around their neck in their campaign, being a deputy mayor in the city. So, Ursany, that's a whole separate issue. That's a whole separate issue, and something I think that we're learning when we look at how the OIG and the OPA operate and how tied their hands are in matters compared to other cities in the country. It is very clear that the city council and the mayor signed a unacceptable contract for SPOG and the representation within the city of Seattle. I'm very comfortable in saying that and stepping out of my lane, so to speak, because we can look at the comparative power that the police have to protect their own thin blue line compared to other cities. And we see this. Eric Whitehead is a great example, right? Eric Whitehead, no mask, January. We were told by Meyerberg, meaning we were told by Meyerberg through his, through their communications manager that, hey, yeah, we're a little behind. We're going to have that in about 2 weeks. And that was like over 2 months ago. And the other thing is that this was something they were like, oh, no, this is going to happen real quick. We're going to get this real fast. And this is dragged out now longer than the 6 officers who were in Washington, D.C., because the mask incident happened about a week afterwards, and we still have no word on what they're deciding with Officer Eric Whitehead in that matter. I'm calling that out as a singular example of the power that the OPA had. Carta, I agree with that. I do think that Jenny Durkin in campaigning said all the right things. Again, I don't vote in the city. I don't live there. I don't vote in those elections. I don't lie about where I live to vote, Mike Solon. Excuse me, I had something in my throat. And then get away with it and then have the police department lie about that there was an actual investigation that happened, Mike Solon. Excuse me. Something stuck in my throat, Mike Solon. Oh, it's beyond, it's even more than that. But I do think that Jenny Durkin said the right things. When Jenny Durkin won, I actually had a little bit of a sense of like, cool. We're going to have somebody, a little more moderate, a little more reasonable, especially look who we had. We had Ed Murray, we had Mike McGinn. I just wasn't a fan of either of them. And of course, Ed Murray had to resign essentially in disgrace. Had Ed Murray, had the scandals with Ed Murray broken, now, Ed Murray very well may have been looking at jail or prison time, because the times change. We're in this era of Me Too. When the story broke with Ed Murray, the bar had moved to, well, this is reprehensible enough to kick you out, but we're not actually going to do anything about it, right? The bar's gone up. I really do think Jenny Durkin said things that people wanted to hear. What I don't think we'll ever know is, was Jenny Durkin in over her head? Was she essentially, is she a good prosecutor? I have to question her understanding of the law, given, hey, the media is asking us for information about where my texts are, so let's sue the media. And let's also toss out there, geez, I don't know how how my text disappeared. I don't know anything about discovery and records protection, even though I'm a former prosecutor. Just, it's like, it hurts the brain, right? So was it incompetence? Was it just a line of bullshit on an ego trip so that, hey, I can get elected mayor? I don't think we're ever going to know the answers to those questions. But it is pretty interesting to see where things are going to land with the mayor race. Here's the important thing, and I know with this group of people, I'm preaching to the choir because people watch me are going to be politically active. Don't get overwhelmed by the choices. You can go onto our YouTube channel. You can go to our website. You can research the front runner candidates. You can go back and watch the video interviews. We have the transcripts for them. They're up on the website. They're up on our YouTube channel. You can just type in the name of the candidate you're looking for. and you have an opportunity to kind of reread on the things that they had to say and where things are at. Personally, it's like I wish you could kind of glom the 6 people we interviewed together and kind of picky, choosy, different, not just their different platforms, but also aspects of their personality. And I think in the aggregate, there would be a really amazing mayor within the parts. I think the challenge that the voters of Seattle have is they can't do aggregate, so they have to figure out what's the best single stone to, and I don't mean stone as a negative metaphor, but if you think of aggregate's a bunch of rocks together, right? What's the best single stone in that group of rocks that people think is like, ooh, that's the pretty shiny rock? And I think that's the ones that people have to pick. I think Seattle could do a lot worse than Bruce Harrell if you look at the 15 candidates, and even if you look at the 6 front runners. I think there's some people that are in that front runner group that I believe would be a far worse choice. But I hear my audience's concern about, will he be the same if he's elected, right? This is all speculative, right? Because you've got that 32% undecided. So that's why I say we look at Andrew Grant Houston with 6% committed, but there's 32% undecided. If those if a chunk of that 32% breaks really left, then that plays really well for someone like Andrew Grant Houston. If that block of 32% breaks more towards the center, then that's probably going to help people like Lorena Gonzalez and Bruce Harrell. And I think Colleen Echohawk falls somewhere in between there. So I think if people are like, I want to go left, but I don't want to go too left, then I think that helps Colleen Echohawk. And again, I think that these different candidates bring different strengths to the table. Yes, excuse me. Yes. Holy fracking Mayor Batman. I loves this. Occam's razor is just a possibility. Yes, very, very true. Anyway, we've talked about that. The next thing I want to talk about, story that has gotten a ton of readership. Whoa, you all fired up when we did this story last week about this 11-year-old in Snohomish County. If you're not following our website, shame on you, malcontentnews.com. Follow us. Go ahead and read. We do journalism there, contrary to what a couple of Karens may have to say earlier today. But there was some, you all fired up on this story. And this story has had what in journalism we call a long tail. Normally we write a story, even a story like this, we see a big spike. A story is generally good for about 24 hours. News cycle is short. And then we got to come up with something else. And this story has just been going and going and going, and it's been going like this. We're actually getting more eyeballs as time goes by on this. It's not tailing off. So here's the story. May 17th, 11-year-old autistic child. There is an altercation that happens on the IE. They're on an IEP, so they're on school transit, and something happens. School transit calls 911. Don't know if it's the driver, don't know if it's the paraeducator assistant that's on the bus, but they call. Snohomish County Sheriff show up, 2 deputies. Child is in the house, and the child through the mother has kind of moved into a calmer state. Still highly agitated, but in a calmer state. Police are basically like, come here, child charges. I shouldn't laugh. It's unprofessional of me to laugh, but a 4'10", 115-pound 11-year-old runs and kicks one of the cops in the groin. And as it's noted in the police report, this does not incapacitate the officer because of the child's weight and size. So, it's a little kid going for a groin shot. The kid wrestles with the 2 officers, which you're like, wait a minute, there's 2 of you and you're escalating the situation and you can't control an 11-year-old. And they spin the kid up to no end. The kid gets back into the house, and the kid says some terrible things to the cops. Says, if I had a knife, I would stab you. Tries to spit on one of the officers. We cover all this in the story. We don't candy coat what's happening here. Kid goes back in the house, is calming down a little bit. Kid goes to grab keys. The police accuse that the kid is coming at him to stab him with the keys. Mom is able to grab the child and get the keys out of the hand with no police intervention. And then there's more wrestling, with the kid. This is all in the police report. So mom, through all of this, is trying to explain that her child is autistic. The police are not handling this situation well. They are just escalating things. And the police are like, we're going to charge her. And like, she's 11. So what do the police do? Well, the police write up the police report that the kid is 12, not 11. That's an important detail. They also say they believe that if the kid had a knife, the kid would have tried to stab them because of what the 11-year-old autistic child said. They didn't mention anything about the mother going like, you are doing this all wrong. The kid is autistic. Never mentioned that the child is autistic. And, they submit their police report. And so what I presume, because when they sent us the documents, the name of the signing officer was cut off. So I'll presume it was the commander or somebody within Snohomish County Sheriff's Department decides that they are going to refer this child to the Snohomish County Prosecutor's Office for 2 felony counts of assault 3 against police officers. Now, because remember, the police are saying they're 12. Why is this 12 thing important? In the state of Washington, the age of culpability, that's Dan could jump into this but the age of culpability is 8 years old, according to RCW, full stop. Under RCW, a child from 8 to 11 years old is assumed not to understand that they have committed a crime or could defend themselves from said crime unless the court can prove that the child has this capability. That cuts off at 11. Now, do we understand why the police magically made her 12 years old? Because at 12 years old, that statute goes out the window. But 11 years old, it doesn't. And if you are 11 years old and you are, we're not talking my level of autistic here. If you're, highly autistic, there is no way a court is going to be able to go, this child understood what they were doing, understood they broke the law, was in control of their actions, and can adequately defend themselves in a court of law. It is a ridiculous thing, but it gets worse. The Snohomish County Prosecutor's Office had an opportunity for sanity because in the charging papers that were sent to us by the family, and yes, the child was charged by Snohomish County prosecutors, they had the child's correct date, which was April of 2010, which makes the child 11. Not only does it make the child 11, it makes the child barely 11. If this incident had happened 1 month earlier, the child would have been 10. We also, in the family, they shared with us the psychological evaluation. Again, you can go up onto our website, and we've quoted some of the things out of there. But one of the things is that the child has a very diminished capacity to work and understand within the community and is very easily hyper aroused. And so, but the prosecutors had this information that they were 11 and autistic, and they went forward with the charges anyway in Snohomish County. And that's when the family started going to the media. And we said, okay, we're going to run the story. Now, on Thursday morning of last week, we reached out to the Public Defender's Office, the Prosecutor's Office, Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. None of them ever called us back. And when we called, we said, we're running the story on Friday. Well, according to a person who claims in the Snohomish County, in a Facebook group for I'm going to screw up the name. There is a person that claims that they are in the prosecutors, in the public defender's office and worked on the case, and that the charges were dropped on Thursday. The reason for this that they've come in with kind of this position is because the family is saying these got dropped because the media started asking questions. Now, the public defender's office is saying, well, the charges were dropped on Thursday, right? We ran the story on Friday. But we made our calls on Thursday morning, and part of making the calls was, we explained, we understand, the situation. The child, this was in the voicemails, the child is 12. We have this 11. We're really trying to understand what's going here. We'd like to get your position. Now, I will say, I'm not surprised that the prosecutor's office of Snohomish County Sheriff's never called us back. It has nothing to do with Malcontent News. It's a juvenile case. And all we were doing was checking the boxes because 99.99999% chance, what are they going to come back with? We don't comment on juvenile cases, right? Because they get in big trouble if they comment on. So checking the box. The family reached out to the public defenders also before we contacted them and said, hey, media is going to be contacting you. I'm not slagging the public defenders. Public defenders do an amazing service for this, and they are stuck in a horrible machine in the work that they do. But the public defenders knew and, laid out what was there, and they didn't call back. So was this just synchronicity on Thursday, or was this because, oh no, the flashlight's going to be shined on this? It was announced today, on Monday, that the charges have all been dropped. But of course, the view of the public defender's office and the family, and again, when I say the view of this is from this person that's claiming this on a Facebook group. So I have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. And, I'm not going Dave Preston on you all here at Safe Seattle. I have it from very reliable sources. No, I'm giving you the deets. I'm giving you the 411 and all of it. But according to that person, just dropping the charge isn't like, okay, we're all happy now and this goes away, because this should have never happened in the first place. It shouldn't have happened with a 11-year-old that doesn't have an intellectual disability. It shouldn't happen with 11-year-old, period. 2 sheriff deputies with pepper spray, batons, handcuffs, guns, body armor, training, couldn't handle an 11-year-old? And if they can't handle an 11-year-old, then what is the caliber of these deputies, and what goes on not at 9:30 in the morning in a suburban house, but at 2 o'clock in the morning on Casino Ave in Everett, Washington, behind a building when nobody's looking? Or somewhere out in Snohomish where maybe some Judd is making some accusations against somebody who's maybe a little too liberal for their tastes. And it's 2 in the morning at a house party out in the country. What exactly is happening then out there when no one's looking and people don't ask questions? Because if this is how an 11-year-old is treated by the Snohomish County Sheriff's Department, a child with autism, a child where the parent is telling deputies, you're doing this all wrong, and they're not listening, then what else is happening? Because, really? We're gonna charge an 11-year-old autistic child with 2 counts of felony? And the thing is, dismissing the charges, right? And I get it, they're a juvenile, so it gets erased at 18, but it's still there right now, dismissed or not. And the charging papers are still there. So in my mind, full expungement, like it never happened, is the bare minimum. And like what? This is the whole thing too. Well, they just need more training. Those are what? We'll send them to Killology? Is that the more training that we're going to do? How does more training fix this? We've tried the more training. The system's not broken. The system works perfectly. The system works exactly as designed, and that is why the system has to be torn down below the foundation and rebuilt and replaced with something else because the system sucks. And if I wasn't in Studio One, I would end that with a commercial. But we're not in Studio One. So we're not going to end that with a commercial. One of the things that we also point out, I'm seeing some of your contents here about school, about the school district and transportation and these issues here. Washington, we are one of the worst funded states for mental health in the country. We have one of the highest mentally ill population in the country, juvenile and adult. Interestingly, Utah has the largest adult mentally ill population in the country of adults that are in some degree of professional mental health treatment. Over a quarter of the adult population of Utah, which is stunning to me. I guess it's all that fake happiness that the Mormons. Let's go make macaroni pictures. I've watched too much South Park on I have worked with a few Mormons in my life, and they are super nice people. There's the whole South Park really nice happy thing is like it's so spot on. I mean, I don't know what it is behind the curtain, and I say that as a metaphor because I know the curtain in the temple. It's not meant that. I don't know what goes on behind the curtain, but like publicly, so apparently they're just like, I'm so happy. But we're not a great state for mental health here. It's quite literally the most advanced training in human history. You assume blindly letting time run thing advances humanity. Well, what's the school going to say, Stephanie? What's the school going to say? Right? What are they going to say? I have the next story and the name's on the ticker. That's why if you see my eyes going over here, every time I look over the ticker, I'm like, damn it, the ticker's not where I want it to be. Dory, your mother is Mormon. Wow. All right, let's see. We talked about the Snohomish County stuff. We talked about the undecided voters. Okay, I wasn't going to talk about the COVID stuff yet, but we could talk about COVID next. And what I'm going to do, you have to forgive me, my eyes are going to still be over here. Unfortunately, it's going to have to roll by on the ticker because the name is really complicated. It's not Enrique Torrero. Let's talk about COVID. We had a story up. We put a story up today about COVID. It's a national, local story combined. Man, a couple of Karens went full Karen on my ass earlier today. They got really bent out of shape and made some weird accusations. But anyway, COVID up all 50 states and D.C. Every state in the country is now seeing growing case numbers. Case numbers in King County have gone up about 66% in the last 2 weeks. Not King County, sorry, Washington State. Case numbers in Washington State, daily average, have gone up about 66%. Tennessee is the worst in the country, 340% increase. Arkansas and Missouri are hit in Louisiana. All three of those states are starting to hit their limits on ICU capacity. And Arkansas and Missouri are seeing more COVID cases than what happened during the winter, early spring spike that we had related to the UK variant. All this is tied to the Delta variant. The other thing that's really fascinating is the growth that Delta is having is highly dependent upon geography and the amount of vaccination in that geography. Highly vaccinated areas are seeing Delta only 10%. They're still seeing UK as the dominant stream. Areas with very low vaccination rates, they're seeing Delta as much as 70%. Here are the things that are concerning about Delta. The first thing is, number one, it is showing some breakthrough of existing vaccines. But, if you saw me do the little air quotes, For most people, what's happening for those breakthrough cases, particularly people that are generally healthy, don't have a ton of comorbidities, they're asymptomatic carriers or they have very mild symptoms. The second thing that's happening with this is that on Delta, the initial symptoms of Delta are not the same. And we talked about this last week. They're not the same as previous strains. Previous strains, one of the things they told you was you lose your sense of taste, lose your sense of smell, you need to go get a COVID test, right? Even if you feel 100% perfect otherwise, you're drinking a cup of coffee, you can't taste that cup of coffee, you can't smell that cup of coffee. You're like, bite into a donut and you just, it tastes like mush. Yeah, in the morning, you probably need to get a Q-tip and have them scrape the back of your brain. I say that jokingly. It just, if they do it right, it does feel like they're taking a brain sample from you. If they do it right, the more uncomfortable it is, the more right they are doing that test. That isn't the case with this. With Delta, initial symptoms are sore throat, a cough, not necessarily like the dry hacking cough, but not like a wet phlegmy cough either, but kind of more like of a cough people might associate with a cold. Fatigue is the same thing. And headache is kind of a similar thing, and diarrhea. And these are the initial symptoms. And this is happening right at the same time that RSV, because everyone's ripped their masks off, and RSV is going, woohoo, I can infect people again. And the opening symptoms for RSV are basically identical. So there are people who are coming down with Delta, and they're as a cold, because it's kind of feeling like a cold. And they're showing up at the hospital much sicker, especially the unvaccinated. Why? They're in denial, right? For some of these people, COVID isn't real. It's not COVID. It's not COVID. I got a cold. I got a flu. I got this. I got that, right? And they're showing up at the hospital. They can't breathe, right? Low oxygen level, because as it advances, it gets more into the COVID. They're having issues with blood clots, and they're sick. And the third thing with Delta, and we saw this with the South African variant, and we saw this with the UK variant. The Delta variant is targeting younger and younger people. What we saw with the UK variant and the South African variant is this was going after people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. What doctors and hospitals are saying is the people that are landing in ICU, these are people in their 20s. And part of it is they feel like they're indestructible. The other challenge with Delta is a number of states, including our states, have cut back on reporting and have cut back on test sites because there was this premature, we want it all, mission accomplished. And mission's not, and even Joe Biden, right? Hey, we're going to celebrate our freedom from COVID on 4th of July. And COVID, like a week and a half later, was like, yeah, watch this. Yeah, you just hold my beer and watch this. The other thing that we're seeing with this is it really is starting to show the divide in the country. Areas that have very low vaccination rates, it is tearing through. There are 2 studies out there, and this is where some people were calling out, you're not calling out you're quoting an unpeer-reviewed. Yes, we quoted the unpeer-reviewed study like every other news outlet out there, with one major exception. We flagged it as not peer-reviewed, as we have flagged from our COVID coverage going back to March of 2020. When stuff isn't peer-reviewed, we have always called it out. There are 2 studies. If you go to malcontentnews.com, we link to the Chinese study, not the abstract, the whole frickin' study. And in that, they did a study of 167 people, and what they estimated was the viral load, the amount of virus you're shedding as you're walking around breathing is about 1,000% higher than the original COVID strain. There is another study, also not peer-reviewed. That study said 1,200% higher. So you got 2 studies. They're not peer-reviewed. They're coming up with similar numbers. There might be something there, because let's go back to March of 2020 when the University of Nebraska came out with their initial non-peer-reviewed study that was, hey, everybody, COVID is airborne. And like a bunch of people were roasting our nuts It's not airborne. It's not peer-reviewed. It's like there's other studies that are also saying it's airborne. And what did we learn about 60 days later? Hey, guess what, everybody? It's airborne. Why are you wearing a mask? You don't have to wear a mask. Like back, I don't know. My wife's doctor. She's like seeing people choking in their own juices in the hospital on a daily. So we're wearing masks because we believe in science. And I have somebody that I can bounce this shit off of. Here, can you read this paper, honey? Your doctor. You read this anything here to this doctor on this. Florida is accounting. I see your comment here, Joy, about Florida. 20% of all COVID cases in the United States are in Florida. Full stop. Florida is not daily reporting, and Florida has actually kind of made it hard to get a test, right? DeSantis just like it doesn't exist. So despite everything in Florida to try to minimize what's going on there, there's still 1 out of 5 cases are in the state of Florida right now. But you go ahead and tell me, Chuds, about how just wonderful things are going in Florida. Oh, by the way, Rick and Morty dropped the term chud multiple times again yesterday. So chud is totally cool because they've done it twice and not in an ironic fashion. Florida is the new anarchist jurisdiction. I freaking love it. I freaking love it. So let's get into that, back to that viral load, 1,000 to 1,200%. We're now seeing that hockey stick, that logarithmic growth of new cases in the United States. The line is actually going up. Admittedly, it's about 4 weeks, but the line is now going up faster than it has ever gone up. It is estimated that Delta is 225% more contagious than the original strain. That would give it an R0 of 6. So what R0 of 6 means, the original strain had an R0 around 2.5. So that means you have COVID, you're walking around in public during the phase where you are transmitting the disease, you're going to give it to 2.5 people. It's about equal to the flu. 6.0 means you're walking around, you're going to give it to 6 people. And it gets worse because an R0 of 6.0 is on par with polio, smallpox, and the common cold. So Delta is really transmissible. I believe, now I've given you facts. Those are facts. Can back all those up with link. And I get some of you watching right now are like, CDC and Fauci, they're not facts. Well, then this isn't the right channel for you. We deal with facts. I said last week, I'm wearing a mask indoors. I've been living that. I've been living the dream. I'm back to wearing masks indoors. I'm not to the point. I'm not wearing masks outdoors, full stop. If I'm in a tight area, lots of people, like if we were doing like protests last year, I'd be wearing a mask. Those of you who may have seen me on coming, really there hasn't been much protests that we've covered in 2021, but those who may have seen us out and about, starting in May, I wasn't wearing a mask outside because I was like, I'm vaccinated. There isn't anything around here. If you're unvaccinated, well, then why are you here? So the bottom line is, it's probably going to get worse. That's my opinion. And it's not just my opinion. It's the opinion of some people that are smarter than me that aren't just in the medical community, because the Dow Jones today took a massive shit. And I know, fuck capitalism, yada, yada, but it's an important part of the story. Dow Jones was down over 900 points. It finished up down about 700 points. It's the worst drop since January 2nd, which is, basically as soon as you could open things up. And at the start of the year, the day stock market opened up. And people were like, oh my God, because things were getting really bad at the end of December. Price of oil, West Texas Intermediate, dropped over 6%. It actually dropped as low as $67 a barrel, back below $70. Why? why is the elite class dumping their stock and are worried that the sale of oil is going to drop? Now, part of what drove the price of oil down is OPEC said they're going to increase production, which has had everybody go, ah. But literally on the day that OPEC said they're going to release production is the same day that the whole world is kind of like, whoa, Delta is a shit show. So you have two factors there of increased supply coming online, just as there are now concerns that the amount of fuel being used is going to go down. Hence the price is going down. And why are people dumping stocks in things like cruise ships and hotels and airlines? Because they took a beating today. And also for companies that build large durable goods like automakers, because there's real concern among the elite class, the business class, the dominant owners class in the world, that the economy is going to slow down again. And here's my belief, because there's already talk in the state of Washington, should we mandate masks again? I don't see it happening. I think things will have to get April 2020 or January 2021 shitty for them, to go, okay, you need to wear masks. I'm not sure if King County will mandate masks. And the reason I say that is, as of today, King County is 80% vaccinated people 12 and above. And at 80%, you're getting really, really close to true herd immunity. And I get it. People are going in and out of King County. And what we're learning about Delta is you could be vaccinated, you can get it, you could be slightly to moderately ill. But the thing is, you're spreading it, right? You're that asymptomatic carrier now, spreading that disease. Dora, I just don't see, because Joe Biden painted himself in a corner on this. He declared our independence from COVID. And, one of the things he's saying is follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. There is a growing chorus of people in immunology and in the medical community that are going, why is the CDC going masks? When the WHO and other organizations, right, the equivalent of the CDC and some of the other countries that have advanced medical systems, right, put your friggin' mask back on. And of course, we have in this backdrop, it's worse in the UK. The UK numbers are terrible. They went to full opening today, and Boris Johnson went full speed ahead with that. Capitalism's going to win at this point. And here's the other thing. Let's adjust our tinfoil hats. Can we adjust our tinfoil hats here? Let's get a little tinfoil hat here. What areas are getting hit the worst right now? Red areas. Those are the areas that are getting hit the worst, right? Republican voting areas, because vaccination, wearing masks got totally politicized. Doesn't matter that Trump got vaccinated. Doesn't matter that Trump said get vaccinated. Doesn't matter that they, meaning the Republican faithful, credit Trump, right? You need to give him credit for the vaccine that he developed. Okay, so that's a vaccine he developed. You can get the vaccine. Oh, hell no, I'm not getting that vaccine. But he developed it. Government control. So Trump wants to control you? No, deep state. So Trump couldn't. Trump 2024, shut up. Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly where we're at with this, right? So we have this as a red state issue. That's number one. Number two, eviction moratorium and foreclosure moratorium nationally. Don't conflate this with local, where states have done different rules, like California and Washington, because not all states have done that. That's going to end on July 31st. I don't see it getting extended. I don't. So you're going to have people come August 1 going, here's your eviction papers. Here's your we're starting foreclosure if you don't pay. We take cash or credit card or check. That has to be an electronic cashier's check, by the way, which is essentially cash. And can you pay that today or tomorrow? Because otherwise we're going to start eviction motion on you or foreclosure. That's not going to happen. The other thing is, right, unemployment, advanced extended unemployment benefits end for everybody on September 6th. That's the next thing. The third thing that you have happen is, as I understand it, in September, what I don't know if it's September 1 or September 30, the federal government picking up the entire tab for your hospital stay if you get COVID also ends. So some real accountability is going to start happening, particularly among those who are like, I'm not doing that Obamacare. You can't make me buy insurance. I don't get punished for it anyway. I'm healthy. I don't need insurance. Yeah, your happy ass lands in the ICU with hospital. You better be ready for that $200,000 to $500,000 bill, because come September, I don't know if it's the beginning or the end, but come September, government's not paying for it anymore. You're going to be paying for it, Chuckles. You're going to get that bill. You're going to be financially ruined. So why is this tinfoil hat? The Republican Party has politicized, unbelievably politicized, getting a vaccine, wearing a mask. You know, some of them are back to like it's a hoax, it's not real, right? They're back to that, embracing this. And it's being pushed by channels like Fox News at this point. But if you were to tank the economy in these red areas and start killing off grandma and grandpa and, you know, some of the people with diabetes and all, doesn't this fuel the narrative that the Biden administration has failed America? And then because of gerrymandering, those districts are safe. You're not going to have them turn. So they, right, the South Park they, you know, they're bastards. The South Park they, don't they benefit across the board? They use the useful idiots to either create rage or literally kill them off. And I use, if you don't, and you don't call me a useful idiot, look up the term. Look up the term of what a useful idiot is. I didn't make it up. It's been around since before I was born. Been around since probably most of you listening to my voice were born. But they're using the useful idiots to drive rage, to create casualties, to build the case. See? Look at the failure. And then, is that just part of the strategy for 2022? To take back the House and to take back the Senate, particularly if you look at the House seats, because you have these districts that are purple and they're fickle, right? These ones that are right on the fence, you know, and if everyone starts dropping dead around them and then people start getting $500,000 hospital bills and they're getting thrown out of their homes because there's no more protection. Well, Donald Trump protected us. But what party isn't going to be interested in doing a forced stimulus package if it comes to that? I could be all wrong on this. If it were to come to it, what party is going to say hell to the no to a forced stimulus package to bail them out? And what party universally voted against the third stimulus package? Because had the third stimulus package not passed, then people right now would be getting those COVID hospital bills. And what I'm interested to see what happens is if we have a big spike and that goes through where the government's not going to pick up the tab anymore and people start getting hurt in their wallets in a really impactful, life-obliterating way. Because collection agencies don't care. They're going to come after everything. They're going to come after your house. They're going to come after your bank accounts. They're going to come after everything. And if you live in a state where the state laws are set up and your 401k administrator didn't set up your 401k right, they'll come after your fucking retirement too, because they just want their freaking money. They don't care. The other thing that I'm really concerned about this is, and I see this firsthand, and this is going to be a little tough for me to talk about. So Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent loved her job. She looked forward to going to work. There are aspects of her job she doesn't like. There's aspects of jobs everyone doesn't like. And I know this isn't unique to Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent. This is a lot of people in the healthcare profession, particularly people who work in hospitals. she's beyond crispy. Beyond it. She's beyond reached. She's beyond crispy. And it's not just her. And I see it every day. And now it's dread. And part of it is, it's not as much here in King County, the COVID cases. A big part of it is, you got to remember, hospitals deferred a bunch of elective procedures because they needed those beds freed up for COVID patients. Now it's makeup time. So what you've got is, we're trying to make up the lost billing, and also people that legitimately had deferred procedures, elective procedures, and need to have them happen. So the workload is nuts. The second thing is, you had everything just open up. And so one of the things that I jokingly call the hold my beer and watch this set, the hold my beer and watch this set had been out in full force. Washington State ICUs are at 83% capacity, which is not good. It shouldn't be over 80%. Only about 5% of those are COVID patients. If you're over 10%, then you're concerned. So at 5%, it's like, okay. So even if you took out the COVID patients in ICU, they're right on the ragged line of 80%, because the hold my beer and watch this set has been doing a whole lot of hold my beer and watch this. And it's just trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. And it is crushing the medical community. And I am convinced we are one or two more waves away from, and we already have people that have walked away from the medical community, which is part of the reason why things are short-staffed. But there's going to be an exodus. If this country doesn't wake up, there's going to be an exodus. And then there's going to be a real problem. Well, what are they going to do? They're a doctor. Yeah, they're a doctor. They have a college degree. They're doctors. They get jobs somewhere else doing something else, or they have to deal with your happy ass. They're a nurse. They're college educated. They get a job somewhere else doing something else. And then we're going to be in a world of friggin' hurt. Then we're going to be in a world of friggin' hurt. And it isn't just at the healthcare level. It's at the EMS level, too. They're totally fried. People at EMS level, they're so fried. And it's all of it with them. It's the opioid epidemic that nobody cares. It's the COVID patients that are coming in. They still have crap for PPE. They still don't have enough equipment. They're still, dealing with just everybody having the worst friggin' day of their life. Do better, America. Seriously, just frickin' do better. Wow, I talked about these two topics a lot. Need to speed it up. I had a feeling. I've been run these two topics into the ground. And of course, I finished up right where the ticker is not where I want it to be. Oh, the nurses. Yes, exactly. I don't get, well, you have this thing in Vancouver at Peace Health Hospital. It's gone through an entire floor. 14 people have COVID. Only 5 of them vaccinated. The other 9 not vaccinated. Caught COVID in the friggin' hospital. This shouldn't be happening. This isn't the hospital's fault. And if you read some of the comments on the news stories, not on our site, the news stories that are out there, because we generally don't rehash stuff that people, because we just don't get any traction. I'm not going to waste our time on that. You read some of the comments, they're like, it's the hospital's fault, and they should have isolated the patients better, and blah, blah, blah. Like, what? How is this the hospital's fault? There's a freaking preventable, this is all unnecessary. It's all freaking unnecessary. There are a lot of healthcare adjacent careers. Stephanie, you better believe it. They can go work for insurance companies, declining those claims in review. They're yes, I say that flippantly. Okay. So it's almost rolling here on the ticker. I want to get this guy's name right here. Price of lumber plummets is distributed because, we told that story there too. It's like there's plenty of lumber. It's a distribution thing. Truck banging at another bridge. You can go ahead and see that on our website. 2 a.m. It had a nighttime feeding. Here we go. Benicio Franzala. He's known as the ramen racist. I don't know if y'all saw this video. Don't go now. After the show, go on Google or YouTube, type in ramen racist. Trigger warning. It's ugly. Basically, what happens is Benicio and a couple of his buddies show up, sit down at a table at a ramen place that is closing. They're in Florida. Florida man story here. Delray, Florida. And the place is closing for the night. And they're not even eating there. They're sitting down eating pizza that they got from some other place at their chairs. And the owner, who is Asian, is trying to, like, guys, we're closed. We got to pull the tables in. And it gets real ugly real fast. And lots of ugly things are said. And the camera comes out. And they start recording. He starts recording. And Benicio starts recording back because, well, I'm going to show people what an idiot you are, while he's dropping a bunch of trigger warning grade racist stuff. And it's real ugly. And it's him and two other buddies. Wait, it gets worse because that's, I believe, Friday night. Saturday night, Benicio and one of the other men show up at a gay bar that is finishing up a drag show for the night. And same thing, they're in the process of closing, and the owners there are like, when they saw the video of what happened to the ramen place, it's like, it's the same dude. No video of him at the other place. But they were like, this is the exact same dude. And he starts dropping a bunch of homophobic bullshit in that place. Well, as you know, there's people on TikTok like Aunt Karen and, Aaron, who's, local guy here. And they work very hard at figuring out who this person is. Now, Aunt Karen didn't figure it out. It's another individual whose name's figured out. And that's where we have his name, and he was figured out. Once he was outed, he immediately scrubbed his social media, his LinkedIn page, his Twitter disappeared. But yeah, his name has now been called out in the media as the ramen racist. Now, we did some digging on this individual because he just oozes of entitlement, and part of his racist commentary was directed at immigrants. Now, you're probably going to look at his name, Benito Frangigala. And he's not exactly a very Americanized name, is it? He's second generation. His parents came here as immigrants. They lived in beautiful Bridgeport, Connecticut. Bridgeport, Connecticut, one of their greatest contributions. They are the leading city for broken windows and boarded up buildings in the United States. They are also home to the Barnum and Bailey Circus Museum. By the way, I am allowed to bag on Bridgeport because I lived in Hamden, Connecticut for a year, and I truly do not believe that I set foot in Bridgeport once. Not just when I was living in Connecticut, my entire time living in New England. I never went to the Barnum and Bailey Museum. And my danger radar is totally broken. So that should tell you something about Bridgeport, Connecticut. Also the hometown of Aaron Hernandez. Sad's the man. That dude was CTE. I'm so convinced that dude was CTE, but I don't want to... Shell totally scrubbed his media about, after, I don't care. Come at me. I don't care. Come at me. Oh, yeah. Why'd you scrub all your media? He was divorced, I believe, in 2018. It's interesting. All this stuff was available. And he was trying to weasel out of paying alimony to his wife in 2020, saying that the court got it wrong, that he was making $160,000 a year, and that he was only making maybe $100,000 a year. Now, I'm not belittling somebody that makes a six-digit income, but trust me, if you see the video, the whole "you're my better" thing was just, out of every friggin' pore of his body, was just oozing out of that. Their house in the divorce was $447,000. That's 2018 in Stafford, Connecticut. That's not. And so he allegedly is the CEO, for now, of a company based in Italy. That does, among other things, are you ready for the irony of irony? Human Resources Consulting. I couldn't make this shit up if I wanted to. I couldn't make that up if I wanted to. Human Resources Consulting. Don't know if he's still president of that company. Don't know if it's his company. His profile has a little bit of an air of, are these, are you inflating what you did? When I was able to see his LinkedIn before he pulled it all down. And this was a real, if you all remember, there was a mass shooting, not a mass shooting, but there was a shooting at the Capitol and we were identifying him. And I literally was looking at someone's Facebook and it was the shooter. And I was just like, oh, let me pull it on the screen. And it disappeared, right? It got knocked down. It was the same freaking thing when I was looking at this guy's thing on LinkedIn. And I'm just like, should have known better. As soon as I hit this page, I should have hit print screen. So I had it. So there you go. We'll give him the chud of the night. The last thing is a real quick one here, which is also on the ticker down below. Enrique Terino, leader of the Proud Boys. I say leader in air quotes because if there were some Proud Boys in here, call 911. Second thing, actually more like, not going to show that on air because we'll be taken out. But anyway, if there were Proud Boys here, call 911. But in all seriousness, if there were Proud Boys, some of the more reasonable Proud Boys that we've actually had reasonable conversations with, I don't think they would say this on air. I do believe that some of them would say privately, he's not our guy, right? We know that he's caused a huge schism across the organization. That schism is very public. He pleaded guilty to 2 charges. He pleaded guilty to lighting the Black Lives Matter banners on fire at the church. Interesting, his guilty plea made the hate crime tag go away on that crime, something I noticed. He also pleaded guilty during his January 4 arrest to having the high-capacity magazines and attempting to bring those into Washington, D.C. That's the name of the charge. It's a little weird to me because, he wasn't attempting. He brought it into D.C., but it's a weird thing. He's pleaded guilty to both charges. His sentencing is on August 23rd. He potentially faces up to a year in prison. Given who he is, his propensity to violence, the power that he has in the organization, I'll be a little shocked. I'll be not just a little, I'll be a lot shocked. But strangely, I won't be surprised if that's what he gets. I will be truly shocked if they go, you are going to serve both 6-month sentences and you're going to serve them consecutively, not concurrently. I would be really friggin' shocked by that. It does throw water on one of my theories that I've whispered. It's, because we know he testified to a grand jury, right? But there was nothing in there in this plea deal that he's getting anything because he was cooperating. Now, maybe come sentencing, that may come up. We'll have to see. Because he's sus. I mean, he's sus. It's just, he's always been sus to me. He's really, really friggin' sus. Thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and spam those hearts one more time. Spam those hearts for our mods and admins. Mess with the algorithm. Let people believe that there's actually really good content here that should be watching, including our QAnon visitors. I don't know. That was like one of the weirdest trolls today. I'm going to list one of your stories on a big QAnon site, and I'm going to pick the least controversial story on your website that you've written in the last 3 months, and that's the one we're going to connect to. As a matter of fact, it's a story that you barely wrote. It's basically just a press release that you lightly edited for your website. And that's literally the one they connected to. And we got a crap ton of traffic. Thank you so much. And it helped with the algorithm, with Google AI. It really helped with the algorithm with the Google AI. And it's so friggin' weird what happened. So wait a minute here. And I just want to see if I can actually announce something here tonight. That's why you hear me clicking away. All right, here we go. Is it true? Did we do it? Oh, wow. We did it. We actually did it. Hey, mods and admins team, on air announcement. Most visitors to our website ever today, and it isn't because of all the Q peeps. We would have actually had an amazing day if you chafed out the Q peeps. We actually had several stories today with massive traffic. We had more traffic today than like maybe we had for the entire month of March. So the website's really taken off. So yeah, we blew through it today. Congrats on that. And there's still 3 hours left in the day. So we're gonna really crush that record. It'd be pretty amazing if we had 20,000 visitors today in a day. That'd be pretty freaking trippy if we had that many unique visitors to the site. And I would say it's possible. Very, very excited. Who was the top 5 most corona violation? Who? Who? Oh, Rex, I totally agree with your comment here about right, over 80% of cases end in plea deals. Here, we did a thing here, right? An analysis of the King County. It was almost 94% of cases end in plea deals in King County. Who was responsible for the top 5 most corona violations in Seattle? Are we talking about Enrique? Who? Oh, the COVID bathtub guy. Got it. Yes. COVID bathtub guy, where he did it multiple times. I'm sure he's still doing his COVID bathtub thing. All right, malcontents. I think. Oh, Catherine, thank you so much. I love that. It's really cool. It looks really cool on this screen. It looks cooler. When I say screen, I'm pointing at that's the feedback screen that I can see here. Here, when I'm looking, you see my eyes go down. It's because I'm reading your comments. No one knows that dude's name. Just the trauma. The power of COVID compels you. The power of COVID compels you. Power of COVID. The power of COVID compels you. All right, malcontents. I think that's about it. We'll do this again on Thursday. We will be in Studio One on Thursday. Because I have to prep for road trip. We're going on the road, taking the show on the road. There'll be more about that on Thursday. But we are going. We're going on the road. Last thing I want to say, I read something like last week, and I'm just so excited about this. Old school Adult Swim fans, you're really going to appreciate this. Venture Brothers movie. Metapocalypse movie with soundtrack album, and a second Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie have all been green-lighted by Adult Swim. I'm so friggin' excited for this. Kellen, I love C-Lab 2021. I'm really excited for Venture Brothers. I have said about that Venture Brothers just screams for a movie. I know Venture Brothers is hand-selled. So the movie might take a long ass time. Oh my God, they're replaying home movies. They're replaying it. It's on at like 2 in the freaking morning. I have insomnia like you don't friggin' believe. Home movies is on at like 2 or 2:30 in the morning. But they are replaying home movies right now, and that show has aged incredibly well. Brendan, Coach McGurk, H. John Benjamin, grew up in my hometown. He's older than me, but he grew up in my hometown. And something that cracks me up about H. John Benjamin and Dennis Leary is these guys have made fat stacks of money just acting like 2 ordinary guys from Worcester. There's nothing unique about they're talented, don't get me wrong, right? H. John Benjamin's super talented voice actor. Dennis Leary is a talented actor, talented comedian. I know they're both kind of acquired taste. Both grew up in Worcester, and I'm telling you, this is just Worcester. These guys are just Worcester. They just took Worcester and have marketed into their comedy act. And like Coach McGurk is just, I think it's one of the reasons I love the show, right? It's just, Brendan, any idiot can score a goal in soccer. The object is to hurt someone. I'm like, holy crap. I had coaches in school that actually thought this way. Joy, I'm so excited about the Venture Brothers movie is going to be amazing because, right, there's such an amazing canon there, and that is so set up for a movie. I think Metapocalypse will be a cool movie. I think what would be amazing for the Metapocalypse movie is if they put a bow on where they ended the show, right? Because they ended the show with all these question marks on Metapocalypse. And I think if the movie starts there and then ends the question mark, that'd be a good thing. I think Venture Brothers the same thing. The thing that's interesting about Venture Brothers is I think they have an opportunity to serialize the movies, right? Metapocalypse, I think it's a little hard to go, right, we're going to do Metapocalypse 2 and Metapocalypse 3. Venture Brothers, I could see they could do that. Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, I saw the first movie and I own the DVD. I will say this. The first 5 minutes of that movie is some of the funniest stuff that has ever been shown in a movie theater in my entire life. The first 5 minutes of that movie is insane. It is so fun. I've never been in a movie theater with people laughing so hard in my life. If you go on to YouTube after the show, do a search, Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie opening, or something around that. You will come up. They do a parody of the old 1950s. Let's all go to the movies. The dancing snack food. They do a lampooning of this. That is just epic. Mastodon, I think, is the band that does the song, which is Cut Your Tongue Out with a Linoleum Knife. That's the name of the song by Mastodon. And it's so over the top. I will say, if you're easily offended, maybe not. You definitely are going to have to bring a little bit of a grain of salt and a little bit of tolerance. There's nothing in there that is racist or even say misogynist. There's nothing. It doesn't. This whole opening doesn't go after like any group or anything. It's just some people might find it a little over the top. And then after the first 5 minutes of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, it's just a slow downhill from there. The other thing is I saw it in the movie theater twice. I watched it on DVD every time, Stone Cold Sober. I have a feeling to really get that movie, there needs to be illicit substances involved. I might have had my mind a little more expanded if I had taken more stuff. Well, that's very true. If you're, yes. I have to say, Elmarin, one of the things that I'm a little disappointed, and I like Squidbillies. I adore Squidbillies. I lived in Deep East Texas for 8 years. Squidbillies is set in Georgia, but oh man, do they nail it? They just so freaking. It's of course exaggerated. Unknown Hinson, who does the voice of Early, was fired from the show. Because he made a bunch of batshit crazy comments about Black Lives Matter and black people. So what we learned about Unknown Hinson is that he really is, it wasn't an act. He really is like Early Kyler, which is super disappointing on a number of fronts because I was actually familiar with Unknown Hinson's music before Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He was like this comedy country singer. He did, this is like I make faces when I make love. I created a space in my double wide trailer for you. I mean, he has all of this stuff and it's nuts. And to like learn that, he's like a hardcore racist chud that he essentially is early Kyler. It's not an act. Was really disappointing. He's been fired from the show, and that's going to be right because it isn't just the voice; it's the music writing, it's the scripting, and the songs he's performing. That's a big hole to fill. I don't know if there's going to be any more Squidbillies because of that. And they lost a couple of other voice talent in there. They've had about 3 people die, right? Billy Shaver died. The guy who did the original Preacher died. And someone else died. They've had 3 voice actors. Well, they had the original singer and 2 voice actors die, and the early has been fired. Squidbillies was just a fantastic show. And the way that they kind of, Squidbillies is the show, in my opinion, that actually, right, shines a flashlight on racism in a way that if your IQ is above room temperature, and that probably is an elitist comment from me, and I'll own it. But it's like if you're watching Squidbillies and you're watching it with a modicum of looking for the subtext. There you go. That's the less elitist thing to say. Where you're looking for the subtext, it really skewers, racism and clinging to things like the Confederate flag because it's heritage, not hate, and and also like it is super anti-capitalist. I mean, that Squidbillies is just 2 of these. The capitalism held up as high as you can get, and Dan Halen is just free. Do a search. Oh my God, I have to go. Let's see. I want to get the name right. You know what? I'm going to look for it. I'm going to drop a link for this. I'm going to drop a link to this. There it is. No, gosh darn it. Oh, no. Sometimes you can find back doors. I'm looking for back doors. I'm looking for a back door for y'all. All right, let me test this link. You might hear a little something here. Yeah, no, that's not happening. All right. Hopefully I just didn't infect my computer with something. Give me a minute. I'm going to find this for you. All right, here we go. I found it. Well, I found the thing. Oh, wait a minute. Is this it here? Can we watch it here? No, shoot. Man, they crack down on these sites. Ooh, one more site here. Oh, no, shoot. That's the conversation thread. I know this site would have it. Gosh darn it. No. It looks like they raised the drawbridge. All right, I am going to put the name of the show up here though. So if you want to spend, I don't know, like $1.99 or something to watch it somewhere, you can do that too. So here, give me 1 second. Gimmicky Magazine Show Spoof Parody. That's the name of the episode. Gimmicky Magazine Show Spoof Parody on Squidbillies. And if you want to go spend $1 or $2, it basically makes fun of shows like 60 Minutes with Dan Halen. and Dan Halen is basically acting like Donald Trump. But the thing that's amazing, this episode was done like in 2008 or 2009, and you will walk away from this episode going, oh my God, they were lampooning Donald Trump here across the board. It is just friggin' absolutely hysterical. Yeah, Turner is super litigious. Interestingly, we played a little clip of a Squidbillies show of Squidbillies. They zinged us on it. We pushed it back up, and they were like, "Okay, you're cool," because we only played it like 30 seconds. Anyway, there you go. Gimmicky magazine show spoof parody Squidbillies. If you can find it, go watch it. If you've never seen it before, holy shit, it's just freaking off the walls. There's your happy thought. See you on Thursday, Malcontents. Laters. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontents Antifa. Fuck you.
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say.